weekend out there. Welcome, PTL Nation. And we certainly have a lot to get to today, a lot to talk about. Special guest coming up here in a couple minutes. And more crazy things that Donald Trump has said over the weekend and some crazy things that he said this morning. It's nonstop, ladies and gentlemen. We're in the YouTube Super Chat, by the way, where your questions and comments can be heard. Also, of course, my personal YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show. And we're everywhere. AM, FM, dial, KSHP. We appreciate you being here. We got some special guests already lined up for the remainder of the week. Some more that are waiting to be confirmed, but a lady by the name of Tricia Calvarese, she's actually running against Lauren Boebert in Colorado. She's going to be joining us later on this week. International supermodel and former MAGA supporter. Now she is just as anti-Trump as I am. The very beautiful and talented Anna Braga is going to be joining us in studio tomorrow. Ron Filipkowski is going to be joining us here in just a few minutes as well. So we got a lot to get to today. Yes, we have a lot to get to today. We have a lot to talk about. And, you know, from my perspective, I never thought that anybody would consider being on Epstein Island a privilege. Yes, that's right. That's what Donald Trump said earlier today. He actually called going to Epstein Island a privilege. I never had the privilege of going to Epstein Island. Yeah, we're going to play that audio for you as well. Pedo President has also been trending on social media all over the weekend. We'll be talking a little bit about that. Donald Trump continuing to cheat on the golf course. I know there are probably more important things to talk about, but he literally has people on the golf course in Scotland that are cheating for him, and there's video of that. It really is mesmerizing times that we are living in right now. And, you know, again, as I've said before, and I'll say again, it's only getting worse. It's not getting better. And I wish that there was something I can say to all of you to make you all feel better. I mean, at this point, I don't know if there is anything that I can say, but I will say this, ladies and gentlemen. This Epstein story is not going away. No matter how much Donald Trump wants to blame Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and he wants to blame everybody else for his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and the fact that he's in the Epstein files, it ain't going to work. Now, maybe there's a small percentage of some of Donald Trump's supporters who might believe every single word that Donald Trump says. But even I was surprised earlier today when Donald Trump used the word privilege. When he mentioned that he was never on Epstein Island, he didn't have the privilege. You know, you usually use that term when you would say, well, you know, I didn't have the privilege to go see the Rolling Stones over the weekend. I didn't have the privilege yet of going to this new really expensive restaurant. You know, I didn't have the privilege to meet Lady Gaga backstage. Usually you wouldn't describe it as a privilege, allegedly, to not go to Epstein Island. By the way, I don't believe a word Donald Trump says. I believe he has been on Epstein Island, but it is absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, to talk about this much more, there's always a lot to talk about with Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch, one of the hardest working people in the business. There he is, Ron Filipkowski joining us. Ron, good to see you again as always, my friend. How are you?
Oh, doing well. I had to spend all morning trying to untangle Trump's latest tariff deal with the EU. So
yeah, I definitely
with all these things, like, unfortunately, you can't just like accept what he says at face value. You know, when he makes these announcements, it's always like he makes these grand announcements, and then you have to dig into the details, and then you find out it's something completely different. You know?
It seems like that's almost everything when it comes to Donald Trump. Before I get to that with you, what did you make of the fact that earlier today, Donald Trump called it a privilege going to Epstein Island, that he didn't have the privilege of going, a very weird verbiage that he used. What did you make of that, Ron?
Yeah, he does that a lot, you know, where he uses completely inappropriate words. I mean, I guess I understand what he's trying to say there. He's trying to say, you know, he's trying to be sarcastic. I never had the privilege, but, you know, the thing is, that's really a distraction because, look, there's no doubt. I don't necessarily believe that he went to the island either, because That's not Trump's style. Trump hates staying anywhere overnight where he doesn't own it. Like, if you notice that, he never travels anywhere to any foreign country and stays, or even another state, and stays anywhere other than his own properties, because he's so paranoid about being recorded or being poisoned. I mean, there's all kinds of like phobias that he has. So that's why you see him all the time. Like, he'll sleep on Air Force One, or he'll go to Vegas. He'll stay in one of his casinos. He'll stay at one of his resorts in the Middle East. Very rare. So I can't envision him like going to an island controlled by Epstein, unless it was just to go and come straight back. But the point is, you don't need to go to an island. They were close friends. I mean, Epstein could have brought girls to his place, could have brought him to Mar-a-Lago, could have brought him anywhere. Right. There's no reason for a Donald Trump to fly to an island if he wants to partake in that kind of activity.
Yeah, that's a good point. You had tweeted on social media, which I thought was funny and true. First, he calls the Epstein files, and he calls it a hoax. He calls it fake news. He blames the deep state. He says that it was planted, and then he's blaming Barack Obama for it. I mean, what's the next excuse, Ron?
Yeah, so he had two new. Every time he talks about this, it's like new versions of the facts. So two new things came out here. One is the reason why they ended up breaking up their friendship. That's always been, a source of questions that a lot of people have had. Like, these guys were friends for a long time. All of a sudden, they weren't friends anymore. What happened? And of course, most of the speculation has been that it was at the time that things were getting hot. Law enforcement was sniffing around Epstein. He was being investigated, and that's Trump got tipped off. He has a lot of friends with the cops in South Florida, and somebody probably went to Trump and said, and this happened. I was a criminal lawyer for 30 years. This happens many times where cops go, hey, you know what? You might want to tell your client to like stop hanging around this person because this person is about to go down. I mean, that happens. And I can see that happening here, where somebody went to Trump and said, you need to get away from Epstein because he's going to be going down pretty soon. But Trump's given various different versions of why. The last version that was put out, I think by Steve Chung, his communications director, was that Epstein hit on a young girl, like a daughter of one of Trump's friends at Mar-a-Lago, and Trump was upset, and that led to their breakup. Today, he gave a new version that Trump said apparently Epstein hired some people that worked for Trump, and he warned him not to do it again, and then he went and did it again. Kind of hard for me to believe that story, that Trump would end a relationship with somebody like that over something that small and insignificant.
But Ron, the excuse from MAGA have always been, oh, well, he separated himself from Epstein because of all that behavior with minors. And now it's turned to he separated his relationship with Epstein because of hiring or not hiring certain people. I'm confused now, Ron. I'm confused.
I think because the timeline doesn't really work out with what's in the files.
Right.
And so Trump knows that. Trump's been told that. And so, I mean, the other curious thing was what Mike Johnson said today. I think they're telegraphing what's going to happen here. I think ultimately they are going to put out a lot of stuff because they know that they just simply can't get away with it. And this isn't going away. These questions, look, he got like 6 questions on it today, meeting with the UK prime minister in England, so he can't get away from this. And he knows that. So I think they're telegraphing the game plan here, which is Trump said first, Bondi should release all credible evidence, anything she deems credible. Now, again, she's not the one going through this. Who is the one going through the Epstein files? It's not Bondi. It is Todd Blanche. And right. Todd Blanche is the one who met with Maxwell. Todd Blanche was also Trump's criminal defense lawyer before he became president. That's the person that's going through this stuff. And so then you have, so I didn't know, was that just an offhand, the word credible caught my attention because when he said it 2 weeks ago, because what that says is like Blanche can go through and anything he decides is not credible, right, is not reliable, He won't put that out. Of course, we know what that means. Everything with Trump's name on it.
Right. Exactly.
And then Trump's Mike Johnson said that yesterday. I think on Meet the Press or one of the Sunday shows. He said, credible. That word is very important. He emphasized that. He said it's important that only credible evidence gets released. That's the key. So we see the setup. This is being set up right now. Is they're going to release a bunch of stuff. There's going to be nothing in there negative towards Trump. They're probably going to release something about their proffer they did with Maxwell, which again will implicate a lot of people, Bill Clinton and others, lots of Democrats, I'm sure, maybe media members. But, they'll say, oh, Maxwell said Trump is innocent. And, and their justification for redacting all the Trump stuff out of the files is going to be the information was not credible.
Ron, do you think ultimately that Maxwell will be pardoned when Trump leaves office? What do you think is going to happen there?
No. Well, it's an interesting development on that today, which is she has a petition pending before the U.S. Supreme Court, where they're trying to get her to hear her appeal, which she lost at the appellate court level in New York, where she's trying to argue that basically she fell under the plea agreement that Epstein made in South Florida many years ago. Mm-hmm. And she should not have been prosecuted because she was under that. So anyway, Marcus put out a statement, her lawyer, today, basically arguing like that Trump should intervene in this appeal. Trump should direct DOJ basically not to oppose this appeal. And he was saying that like he should understand that the government was weaponized against her and this was all unfair and that kind of thing. So he's angling either for what he's trying to do is put out a lot of other alternative ways that Trump can help her without pardoning her. Because I think they all know that everybody knows that if Trump pardons her, especially before the midterms, like it's basically the end of his presidency from a political, his supporters will abandon him in droves. He just can't do it. So what I said is he's either going to do like a sentence commutation on his like last week in office, because she's doing 20 years. So if he does a commutation, basically just says you don't have to serve the remainder of your sentence, which he did with a lot of the J6ers, then she would get out after doing 6-7 years out of 20, which is a good deal for her. So he could do that. Or again, they could kind of take a dive on this appeal. They could maybe not argue it as strenuously before the Supreme Court. And if she wins her appeal, then Trump could just say, well, I didn't do anything to help her. She won on appeal. It was the court. Or the other thing that they could do is DOJ could do what's called a Rule 35 motion, which is to reduce her sentence because she provided additional information in her interviews with Blanche. I believe the last thing is what they're going to do. I think what they're going to do is they are going to wait till after the midterm elections. And then DOJ is going to file a Rule 35 motion arguing to the original trial judge that her sentence should be reduced because of cooperation.
Absolutely despicable. I tend to agree with you. That's probably what's going to happen. I have to bring up Nancy Mace for a moment, and then I want to get to this supposed deal that Donald Trump made. So Nancy Mace over the weekend on Fox News bragging about dragging people out of the courtroom and deporting them. She also said, and not gloating about it and smiling, and she also said, there's nothing, quote, more American than that. What is your response to that? Because I couldn't find anything that's more un-American than what they're doing. These ICE agents are doing outside these courtrooms. And it seems like she's gleeful.
Well, she's been teasing this run for governor of South Carolina for a long time. Like every single day she posts about running for governor, and she's supposedly going to make some big announcement this week. I'm still very skeptical that she's going to do it. Henry McMaster is the current governor, and he is term limited. She also gave a statement in that same interview teasing running for governor and claiming that McMaster was too woke, which is like probably a shock to most Democrats in South Carolina to learn that Henry McMaster is woke, but whatever. That's going to be apparently her campaign. Ralph Norman is already running, who's a Freedom Caucus far right guy. So she could possibly beat Norman, but I have to believe somebody better is going to get in that race. But I think that what she's saying there is like, you know, the deportation porn is what I call it. You know, they do love those clips. I mean, those clips go viral all the time.
Yep.
Anytime you have somebody getting dragged off in handcuffs, crying, getting arrested when they're walking out of a court hearing, getting dragged off with their children crying in the background, that's like MAGA porn. You know, those videos always go viral with MAGA people. And, you know, she's somebody who's always looking for attention. If she is going to run for governor, she's probably looking for attention that way. And she hasn't been able to get on Fox very much in the last few months because she's gone so crazy and so far off the deep end. I think they're tired of her even. But the reason why she got back on there was she's teasing this governor thing. And that's the game that she's playing right now, is that she's using that to get herself on TV, and then she's bringing up these other issues. So, yeah, it's pretty gross, but, you know, they revel in it. But that's the thing that's hurting them, because, you know, a solid majority of Americans at the beginning of Trump's term favored deportations, favored a significant number of the people who came in during the Biden administration being deported, something like 55 to 60%. However, the methods and the tactics that they're using to do this has flipped the polls. And that's the problem. The fact that MAGA is getting off on this stuff and reveling in the pain of deportations is really hurting their cause on this. And, you know, but maybe it won't hurt her in a Republican primary in South Carolina. Probably not.
It probably won't in that area. I don't doubt that. So, Ron, we started this interview. You talked a little bit about you're covering this supposed new deal that Donald Trump has made with Europe. What can you tell us about this? We see people, MAGA supporters, all over social media gloating about this. Look at this deal that Donald Trump just made. Can you break this down for us and tell us, what does this deal actually entail? And is it truthful, anything that Donald Trump is saying, talking about this deal?
I mean, you know, one thing we've learned at Midas, like what I told the guys is like, I wish media, the rest of the media would follow this, is like every single time he makes an announcement on the trade deal, there's never any specifics. There's never anything in writing. He makes all these claims, and then you wait and wait, and then you get the actual like specifics, if there are any, and you find out that none of it's true. I mean, look at the Japan deal, for example. I mean, he meets with the PM for like 70 minutes right before the prime minister's election. So they're both trying to get a win here. You know, the PM of Japan, who's like down in the polls, is looking for some positive news to break right before his election. Trump's looking for a win because he can't negotiate any trade deals. So they meet for an hour, and then they announce this big deal. Well, first of all, the deal has to be ratified by the Japanese parliament. The guy goes and loses his election the following week. So he's not even in the deal, whatever the stuff that was negotiated basically on like a sheet of notebook paper on Trump's desk, the broad brushes are not even binding on Japan. They're about to create a new government, and whatever that guy negotiated with us doesn't mean anything. Number one. Number two, Trump announced that Japan is supposed to turn over to us $700 billion. Just give us a check, $700 billion for Trump to invest in the United States as he sees fit. That's complete fantasy. It's complete fiction. There is no agreement for Japan to give us a single dollar. What the broad general parameters said was that Japanese businesses, it will be a goal and an objective for them over the next 3 years to invest that money in the United States. Like Toyota's going to invest their own plants, their own stuff, but none of that is binding. So, you know, when the EU agreement comes out, I'm like, I wake up to that. Okay, well, then I see Charles Gasparino, who is like the Fox News business analyst, like their number one guy. And he's also mostly tells the truth when it comes to this kind of stuff. So I saw he's going to be on Fox and Friends at 6:30. So I'm like, oh, geez, man. So I got to watch that, right, to see his take. And he just trashes it. I mean, he basically was just like arguing with Brian Kilmeade.
I saw that.
He goes, well, Japan is giving us $700 billion out of their sovereign wealth fund. He's like, no, they're not. It's just made up by Trump. And so Gasparino's like, look, man, this deal is like, we're putting a 15% tariff on everything from Europe for the most part, with a couple exceptions. We're keeping the 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum. So basically, Americans are paying a 15% sales tax on anything that comes from Europe. And Gasparino argued with Kilmeade about that. And because Kilmeade makes that argument that Trump makes, which is, American companies are just going to eat that tariff. They're going to take it out of their profit. Yeah, right. Big corporations are going to take Trump's tariffs out of their profit bottom line. Sure they are. So that was one argument that he argued with him about. And the point is that a lot of the stuff that Europe has agreed to do broadly, they were already going to do anyway, because they're not buying natural gas from Russia anymore. So they're going to start buying it from us. Okay, well, they were already going to do that. They're going to buy weapons from us. They're all increasing their defense budget. So they're going to buy weapons from us. They were going to do that anyway because of the threat from Russia. So a lot of the things that are in this so-called deal, they were already going to do.
Right.
And the final point I'll make is this is negotiated with the EU commissioner. She cannot dictate to businesses in Germany and in Spain and in France what they have to buy from the United States. All these are goals and objectives. They're not like agreements where you have to honor them. They're just plans. And so what they know is that they can just slow play Trump, give him his PR win. And then as we look, China agreed to buy back in 2019 X amount of oil from the United States that they pledged to buy. They never did it. Right. I mean, this is what we've seen time and time again. These countries know they can promise Trump one thing, give him his PR win, and then a few months later, they can just forget about it.
Just unbelievable. Thank you for breaking that down, by the way. And I would imagine this will be in your next write-up. I would assume on your
Look, I spent all morning reading all my sources in Europe and around the world from all the business and trade people that I go to. So yes, my first objective in today's bulletin is going to be breaking all that down, the EU fantasy, then going into all the Epstein stuff, and then everything else.
I have to ask you one more question, Ron, before I let you go. I watched a podcast, Bill Maher's podcast with Brian Tyler Cohen. I don't know if you had a chance to see it. And I see a clip in it where Bill Maher is saying, geez, I was wrong. These tariffs aren't as bad as I thought they would be. When I drive around, I don't see people suffering. Everything seems to be okay. I admit that I was wrong. And I say to myself, well, first of all, what are you talking about? The American consumers paying for this. What is Bill Maher talking about, and what happened to Bill Maher? What are your thoughts on this?
I actually saw that clip. I didn't watch the podcast, but I saw that clip. And my first thought was how can you be so dumb? Literally, I get how the MAGA people and the Fox News people buy that bullshit, but he should be a little bit smarter about it. But he's kind of lost the plot in the last couple of years. Look, these tariffs, and all the experts will say the same thing. You can read any publication, any serious economist. It's always delayed. The impact of these things is always delayed. The tariffs, the reason why Trump gives these companies months ahead notice, hey, these are going to kick in August 1st. He says it 2-3 months out. They buy up inventory is what they do before the tariffs go into effect. Every American company did that. With China and Europe, they bought tons of inventory. It's also why, a lot of the economy didn't tank as bad. It's always a delayed reaction. You're going to see it in the next economic data report on some of the consumer prices, but you're really going to see it in Q3 and Q4 is where the inflationary impact of these tariffs is really going to kick into effect, because companies will eat some of the tariffs on a temporary basis. They'll take a little bit of a hit in the short term to try and protect their consumers and their market share, but they're not going to do that over months and months. They might do it for a few months, but once the reality sets in that these tariffs are permanent and not going away, and once the inventory that they built up before the tariffs went into effect is gone, then the impact is really going to hit. And so, look, I don't know how you can sit there and go, the tariffs just went into effect like a month ago, and hey, it doesn't seem like prices have gone up that much. Well, first of all, they have. Check the price of coffee and things, other commodities, tomatoes, beef. Look, just take the price of oil and gas. So now Europe is going to buy all their oil and gas from us. What's that going to do for our market when huge multinational energy companies are now going to be selling our stuff to Europe at a higher profit margin? What's that going to do to prices here? All of this stuff takes time. So look, I predict quarter 3, quarter 4 is going to be dismal. And that's when these tariffs are going to take effect. But how you can sit there and go 1 month after the tariffs kicked in, hey, everything seems okay to me, anecdotally, that's just stupidity.
Agree completely. But quarter 3, quarter 4, they will blame Joe Biden and Barack Obama.
If no prices have gone up as a result of tariffs, like by fourth quarter, I'll admit I was wrong, and so will a lot of other people.
Sure, but I tend to think you're right.
Can we wait a few months and see how this plays out? I mean, how people are making these determinations now is just ridiculous.
Insane. I agree with you, Ron. I love what you do. Keep up the great work at Midas Touch. Always appreciate it when you take the time. By the way, congratulations to Adam Mockler. He's everywhere, Ron. I saw him on Chris Cuomo last week. I saw him on CNN last week. He's doing a great job. I'm really
Mockler's a star, man. He's fearless. He's fearless.
I'm proud of him. He's doing a great job.
He's like a young version of you, except smarter and better looking.
I certainly agree with the smarter and better looking for sure. When I was his age, 22, I couldn't even tie my shoe. I don't even know if I knew who the president was back then. So yeah, Adam's extremely smart, and I agree, much better looking. So Ron, I appreciate it, my friend. You're the best. Man. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one, Ron. Thank you. There you go, everybody. Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch joining us. He's right about Adam Mockler, by the way. Completely correct on every avenue that he just stated there. I'm really proud of Adam. He's doing a great job. I saw him on Cuomo last week. He destroyed it on that CNN panel with Kevin O'Leary, and I'm not surprised. And the people at Midas Touch, listen, they have some great people there. Obviously, Ron Filipkowski being one of them. He's the best, and we really love having Ron on the show. Oh, look at that. Jennifer on the YouTube chat says, Brian, you're handsome as well. Just make sure to tell all the other ladies in Las Vegas that, but I appreciate the compliment. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We have a lot of audio to play for you, and then we're going to take your phone calls. But it appears as though the Trump administration has finally prepared some answers to these Epstein questions, but the problem is it only makes Donald Trump look more guilty. We're going to have the audio to play it for you when we come back. We're going to take a quick 90-second break, and we will be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas.
right, welcome back, everybody. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. Check out the website, by the way, pushingthelimits.live. The YouTube page has just passed 132,000 subscribers over the weekend, so we certainly appreciate that. We just had Ron Filipkowski on from, of course, Midas Touch, kind of breaking down this sham of a deal with Europe, the EU deal. It's an absolute joke. So we talked a little bit about that. But it appears, ladies and gentlemen, as though Donald Trump has been given some new answers to make excuses for this Epstein files scandal, whatever you'd like to call it, and he continues to do so. And what we are going to do is we are going to play for you some audio from this press conference that took place earlier today. So first, Donald Trump blames the Epstein files on a hoax. Then he says it's fake news and it's the deep state. And now he's been saying it's planted. Remember when he blamed Barack Obama and Joe Biden? Well, now he's moved on to a few other people. James Comey and Merrick Garland. Yes, that's right. Donald Trump is blaming them now for the Epstein files. Have a listen to this.
Have not been briefed on the Epstein files, or your name has not appeared in the Epstein files. But doesn't the AG have to tell you if your name is...
Well, I haven't been overly interested in it. You know, it's a hoax that's been built up way beyond proportion. I can say this, those files were run by the worst scum on earth. They were run by Comey, they were run by Garland, they were run by Biden and all of the people that actually ran the government, including the auto pen. Those files were run for 4 years by those people. If they had anything, I assume they would have released it. The whole thing is a hoax. They ran the files. I was running against somebody that ran the files. If they had something, they would have released. Now, they can easily put something in the files that's a phony. Like, as an example, Christopher Steele, a person you know well, happens to be from your country. But Christopher Steele, as an example, wrote a book, a dossier. We call it the fake news dossier. And the whole thing was a fake. The whole thing was a fake. They can put things in the file that are fake. But those files were run by bad, sick people. If they had anything, why didn't they use it when I was killing Joe and then he gave out because he was 25 points down? And then I got somebody new. Nobody even knew anything about it. She was a horrible vice president. She was a border czar, but she never went to the border. She never once called a border patrol agent to find out how we're doing. But she was the border czar. Her name was Kamala. Nobody knows her last name. It was Harris.
What is he talking about? What a bumbling idiot. What is he talking? He blames Joe Biden. He blames James Comey. He blames Merrick Garland. He blames Barack Obama. He blames it on the deep state. He starts talking about the dossier. What is this guy talking about? As if they just put his name in the Epstein files. It was investigated by Republicans and Democrats, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, lefties and righties. If somebody told them to, like if Joe Biden said, hey, I really don't like this guy, Donald Trump, can you do me a favor? Can you put his name in the Epstein files? I mean, that's really what Donald Trump is saying. It's so absurd. It's ridiculous. But ladies and gentlemen, it gets worse. Now, I mentioned the word privilege. For example, okay, I'm privileged to be able to go on the radio every day. I do think at times, being white in the United States of America, you have something called white privilege. Now, I don't think that's a good thing, but you understand where the word comes from. I find it to be a privilege to hang out with my niece and my parents, in Las Vegas. That's a privilege to hang out with my family. I find it to be somewhat of a privilege to meet some of these famous people that I grew up with. You get the point, right? That's how the word privilege is used. Donald Trump uses the word privilege in a very different manner this morning, and I'll give you a hint. It has something to do with Epstein Island. Have a listen to this.
I'm glad I did, if you want to know the truth. And by the way, I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times. I never went to the island, but Larry Summers, I hear, went there. He was the head of Harvard. And many other people that are very big people. Nobody ever talks about them. I never had the privilege of going to his island, and I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island.
Yeah, what a privilege. What a privilege to go to an island where there are a bunch of child molesters raping kids. What a privilege. What person would use that type of language? I mean, it's unbelievable. Even for Trump standards, it's unbelievable. As the Ottawa Guy 40 on the YouTube Super Chat says, Trump knee pad wearing Blanche meets with Maxwell. She promises to minimize the Trump-Epstein association. Trump pardons her. Obvious game plan. Yeah, I agree with you. And if it's not a pardon, it certainly will be commuting the sentence. There's no question about that. It's a privilege, right? It's a privilege to let pedophiles out on the streets. It's a privilege because that's the way a normal person would use that word. Oh, my God. Now, we've been hearing from MAGA for years now that the reason why Donald Trump supposedly disassociated himself with Jeffrey Epstein was because he didn't want to be associated with a pedophile, even though Mark Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, has done this show multiple times and said that's not true. It was Jeffrey Epstein that disassociated himself with Trump. But regardless, apparently Donald Trump is admitting now if he did disassociate himself from Epstein, it had nothing to do with the fact that Epstein is a pedophile, and it had to do with the fact that he hired help and said he never wanted to do that again, something about hiring people. It had nothing to do with him being a predator. Listen to this.
The time he flew him out of Mar-a-Lago. Can you settle that? What was it about? What caused the breach with him?
That's such old history. Very easy to explain, but I don't want to waste your time by explaining it. But for years, I wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein. I wouldn't talk because he did something that was inappropriate. He hired help. And I said, don't ever do that again. He stole people that worked for me. I said, don't ever do that again. He did it again. And I threw him out of the place, persona non grata. I threw him out, and that was it. I'm glad I did, if you want to know the truth.
So let me get this right. The reason why Donald Trump stopped talking to Jeffrey Epstein, I'm laughing at this because it's so ridiculous. The reason why Donald Trump stopped speaking with Jeffrey Epstein, because apparently he was poaching staff from him. Had nothing to do with the fact that he was raping children. Very interesting. You know, this is one of my favorite characteristics of these Trump defenders, right? They've defended Trump for years, and they've made the case over and over and over again that he cut off Epstein when he found out about the child abuse. And then Donald Trump throws all of them under the bus this morning and says because he stole people who worked for him. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, ladies and gentlemen. It's really unbelievable. And then there's the stiff himself, the couch predator, J.D. Vance. So J.D. Vance is also being asked about the Epstein files. Keep in mind, our vice president was the guy that was so talkative about this 5-6 months ago, saying we have to release the Epstein files. We have to release the Epstein list. And now he's making the case that not only does Donald Trump have nothing to hide, but he's being fully transparent. Have a listen to our vice president.
Under Joe Biden's Department of Justice, the media didn't give a damn about the Epstein files or about the Epstein case. For literally 20 years, the story about this scumbag, and he is a scumbag pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein, he's dead now, but for 20 years, you had Obama and George W. Bush's Department of Justice go easy on this guy. They didn't fully investigate the case. They didn't show any curiosity about the case. And now Donald J. Trump is asking his Department of Justice to show full transparency. And somehow that's a criticism of Donald J. Trump and not Barack Obama and George W. Bush. If you want to criticize the people who aren't showing full transparency, you ought to go after the administrations that went easy on Jeffrey Epstein, the administrations that concealed this case for 20 years, and the administrations that failed to show full transparency. Donald J. Trump, I'm telling you, he's got nothing to hide. His administration has got nothing to hide, and that's why he's been an advocate for full transparency in this case. He's going to keep on being an advocate for full transparency, but while we're focused on that case, Donald J. Trump is also worried about making sure these great workers get more take-home pay and better jobs, and that's the focus of the administration.
Yeah, that's the focus. Full transparency, because the first thing I think about when I think about Donald Trump is how transparent he is and how honest he is with the American people, even though he said himself just a week ago that anybody who is still talking about the Epstein files is stupid, including his own supporters who have been talking about it for years. But no, he's being fully transparent. I'm sure that's why Blanche went and spoke to Maxwell, because they're trying to make a deal with Maxwell to exonerate Donald Trump. Full transparency. I'm sure we'll get the entire transcript of that conversation. And then a reporter asked J.D. Vance a follow-up. Why should the U.S. government shield the client list of Epstein? Here's Vance's response to this exchange.
Immigration, and taking a strong stand on immigration is imperative. I don't know. I mean, based on television, I would say not particularly.
Hi, Mr. Vice President. Julie Carr-Smythe from the Associated Press. I guess I'm going to be that person. There are some protesters outside accusing the GOP of protecting pedophiles, and we're wondering what you think are the reasons the U.S. government should shield the client list of Epstein from the public, and what you have to say about any relevance to that here today.
Well, let me say just a couple of things. First of all, the president has been very clear. We're not shielding anything. The president has directed the attorney general to release all credible information, and frankly, to go and find additional credible information related to the Jeffrey Epstein case. He's been incredibly transparent about that stuff, but some of that stuff takes time. You've got to assemble that stuff. You've got to compile that stuff. You've got to redact some victims' names so that you protect the victims. But the president has been very clear. He wants full transparency. He's asked that from the attorney general, and I know, because I talk to her all the time, the attorney general is hard at work on that issue right now.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Pam Bondi's doing an excellent job, as the Trump administration would say. But behind closed doors, I don't think they feel the same way. Maybe Donald Trump does. But the truth be told is that there's the opposite of transparency going right now, and Donald Trump would do anything and is trying to do everything that he can to try to get people to stop talking about the Epstein files. Why? Because he's in them. That's why. And then earlier today, before Donald Trump met with Starmer, Donald Trump was asked about so many people dying of starvation in Gaza. Now, obviously, this is a terrible situation. And I've talked to many people about this, and it's horrible, right? There are people in Gaza, there are children that are dying of starvation. It's awful. And I think you are complicit if you think that the Israeli government has nothing to do with it. I'm not saying it's all their fault, but certainly they've played a role in this. And Benjamin Netanyahu is lying to his own people. He's lying to the people in Gaza, and he's lying to the world. We've seen the videos. We've seen children that are dying of starvation. It's awful. Innocent people that have done absolutely nothing wrong. Donald Trump's response? I don't know. Now, of course, Starmer gives a well-educated and abundantly clear answer, but listen to how weak Donald Trump is. It's like he's afraid to criticize Benjamin Netanyahu when the world knows that there are people that are dying of starvation in Gaza. Thousands of people have died, including children.
Immigration, and taking a strong stand on immigration is imperative. I don't know. I mean, based on television, I would say not particularly, because those children look very hungry. But we're giving a lot of money and a lot of food, and other nations are now stepping up. I know that this nation is right.
It's
here.
a humanitarian crisis.
Right.
It's an absolute catastrophe, and nobody wants to see that. And I think people in Britain are revolted at seeing what they're seeing on their screens. So we've got to get to that ceasefire. And thank you, Mr. President, for leading on that, and also to just get more and more aid in. And again, America's done a lot on this. A lot of countries have done a lot. We're now working with Jordan on getting direct aid drops in, but this is a desperate situation.
Yeah, there you go. So Donald Trump is asked about this. Netanyahu says there's no starvation. Donald Trump's response, quote, I don't know. It's a lot of leadership, Mr. President. Thank you very much. There are children that are starving in Gaza. Thousands have lost their lives. And that's your response? Boy, sickening. You know, one more clip I do want to play for you. And I asked Ron Filipkowski about this a little bit earlier. And that's Nancy Mace. Now, to me, this gives a specific feeling definition of where the MAGA Republican Party is at right now, where if you're a brown person in this country, whether you're legal or not, they enjoy watching you suffer, just like they want to own the libs. Just like Fox News, all they do is show black people committing crimes 24/7. But when it comes to January 6th, they're patriots and hostages, and let's give them a pardon. But if you're a brown person in this country coming out of a courtroom trying to do it the right way, you're a criminal, you're a thug, you're going to rape our children and kidnap our families. Nancy Mace is a perfect example of where the MAGA Republican Party is at right now and why I say it's Make America White Again. Listen to Nancy Mace with a smile on her face, gleeful, talking about ICE agents dragging people away from their kids outside of courtrooms. It's sickening. Listen to this.
In town, I have to tell you, one of my favorite things to watch on YouTube these days are the court hearings where illegals are in court and ICE shows up to drag them out of court and deport them. I can think of nothing more American today than keeping our streets safer by getting those violent criminals out of the United States of America, and we all have Donald J. Trump to thank for it.
What? Did I just hear that right? Let me tell you something. And we'll open up the phone lines, by the way, now at 702-221-7283. And the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let me tell you something, okay? Barack Obama, Joe Biden, gosh, even George W. Bush, they weren't gleeful at separating themselves from their families. They weren't jumping up for joy. They didn't have Dr. Phil with a microphone there happy that people were getting ripped away from their families. They weren't having ICE agents show up outside of courtrooms and people not identifying themselves across the country wearing scarves over their face, torturing people. But that's what the Trump administration is doing. And MAGA Republicans are gleeful over this. They're happy. They enjoy it. People like Nancy Mace, as Ron Filipkowski said, this is MAGA porn, is what it is. When you see some who happen to be undocumented immigrants, and so many of them that are nonviolent criminals, being ripped away from their kids, ripped away from their families, and they have smiles on their faces, and they enjoy it. It's sickening to me. And that's why Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch called it MAGA porn, because that's what this is. They enjoy it. Now, I find it repulsive. And I find it disgusting that there's anybody out there that would enjoy watching these human beings, because that's exactly what they are, being treated like animals. We need to put an end to this. We need to stop it. And the 2026 midterms are the best way for us to do that. And of course, the 2028 presidential election. This madness has to stop. We have to start treating people like human beings. And we have to stop electing people into office that seem to enjoy people getting ripped from their families. It's sick. It's gross. It's disgusting. Nancy Mace is just an awful human being, and we need to call them out for it, because to them, if you're a Trump supporter and you're white, or even if you're a white supremacist with a Confederate flag, they're going to treat you like a king. But God forbid you're a brown person living in the United States of America trying to come in the right way, and they treat you like animals, and they want you sent to alligator Alcatraz. Again, the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you would like to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. Let's start off line one. Let's go to Brian. Brian is first up on PTL. Hey, Brian, what's going on, man?
Hey, Brian. Good to see you. Good to hear from you today. Got another good show on your hands. I was the very first one in the group chat.
Yep.
And my message was that I had some very good news for Darlene today.
Okay, what's that?
I don't know where she's at in the line, but I know she's listening. So I don't know if you've heard this story or not. Brian, you haven't talked about it, and I'm glad you haven't, because maybe I wanted to give you a bit of good news, too. This douchebag that is the the Department of Education superintendent in Oklahoma.
He got caught watching porn, right? Was there porn in his office? Is that what happened? Yeah, I heard about that.
For kids advocates. Oh my God, let's defeat the woke left and get rid of porn and buy a whole bunch of Trump Bibles.
Yeah, so Brian, let me give people, I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to bring that up today, and I'm glad you did, Brian. So what Brian is speaking of is this superintendent of schools in Ohio who wanted the 10 Oklahoma, I apologize, who wanted the 10 commandments in every classroom and was ordering Trump Bibles. Mr. Right-wing religious zealot Trump supporter got caught with pornography in his office. And did he get fired, or is he on suspension? What happened? Do you know what and
Garland can probably tell you better than me. But what's happening is they are going forward with impeachment proceedings.
Good.
Because they were in the middle of a meeting, and the laptop or whatever the TV was, the apparatus was attached from his office to that meeting, so the porn was live from his office.
Brian, I'm going to tell you something, and if you listen to the show a lot, which I think you do, then you'll know what I'm about to say here. The people that preach anti-porn and on the evangelical right are people that probably watch more porn than a porn star does, and the people that preach on the far right anti-gay and how gay is a sin are probably the same people that are gay that are afraid to admit it. The people that call themselves wholesome Christians are usually the same people that behave the same way Donald Trump behaves in cheating on every single woman that they've ever been out with. They are the biggest hypocrites in the world, and this guy is a scumbag, and I'm glad he got caught. He is a despicable human being, and I'm shocked that the guy who preaches buying Donald Trump Bibles is the same guy who watches porn in his office as the superintendent of schools. Actually, it's not surprising to me at all, Brian.
Maybe his tagline is mini soldier.
Yeah. Well, Brian, I'm glad you brought that up, my friend, and I appreciate it. And thank you so much for calling in.
Brian.
I appreciate you. I love you too, Brian. I appreciate the phone call. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next up on line 2. Hey, Mark, what's going on, man? Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, to the last caller, you took away my first comment. That was going to be.
You see, my listeners are so educated and up to date. I love that. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, that last clip that you played of Trump, where he stated that it's all a hoax. The Democrats have been talking about this for the last 4 years. He incriminated himself by just opening his mouth. And let me tell you about a couple of things that blow holes into his story, which we know is BS anyway.
Yep.
He claimed that Democrats have been crying the last 4 years. Obama this, Obama that, Clinton. But Obama wasn't the president the last 4 years.
That's true.
But he claims that Clinton and Obama wrote them.
Yeah.
But did you also notice that he stated that, I know that Clinton went to Epstein Island, but here's my question. If the Democrats wrote this, along with Bill Clinton, why would he put his name in the Epstein file?
Well, of course that makes absolutely everything Donald Trump says makes no sense. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
One more thing, Brian, one more?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Remember when Trump also on your last clip stated that I got the invitation, but I didn't accept it. Thank God I didn't go.
Yeah, I didn't.
He claimed he didn't know Epstein or Maxwell.
He did.
So how did he get an invitation if he didn't know them?
Yeah, and thank you, by the way, for the call, Mark. I appreciate it. Sure. I would also add that Jeffrey Epstein was at Donald Trump's wedding. They're seen in videos together hanging out at Mar-a-Lago. I'm laughing because it's so ridiculous. I literally put up on social media like 20 pictures. I'm not exaggerating. 20 pictures of Donald Trump hanging out with Epstein and Maxwell. And I put as a header on top, Joe Biden and Barack Obama must have made Donald Trump take all these pictures with Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. 702-221-7283. Line 3, we're going to Pez. Pez is next on line 3. Hello, Pez.
What's going on, Brian? Good
What's up?
show.
Thank you.
A lot of low hanging fruit out there today. I just wanted to point out to you, one of the signs I saw in the protests in Scotland was the pedo Führer. I hope that catches on in the States.
I hope it does too. I like that. Yeah, it's true.
I wasn't aware that being part of child rape was a privilege, but I think they just handed the Democrats for every campaign commercial material that they won't even have to create on their own.
Okay, can I ask you, Pez?
Right.
I think you're right. Let me,
Go ahead.
Pez. We know that Donald Trump says a lot of crazy, stupid lies and idiotic things, but even I was a little bit surprised that he used the term privilege when talking about the possibility of going to Epstein Island. Like, is he that stupid? Why would he use that terminology? Like, even I was surprised. If I'm the Democrats, see, I agree with you. If I'm the Democrats, I play that over and over and over again. I wasn't privileged to go watch a bunch of children get raped. That's really what he was saying.
No, and if you listen closely to what he went on to say in that gobbledygook that he put out, he claimed that Epstein was stealing his employees. Well,
Right.
If you look back on one of the Epstein victims' statements, she was working at a locker room at Mar-a-Lago when she was basically recruited. So
yeah, and even
Good
worse.
show, man.
But that makes him. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate the call. It makes it look even worse because all these MAGA idiots out there, and by the way, that's what you are. You're a bunch of idiots. Were claiming, well, the reason why Donald Trump wasn't hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein and the reason why Donald Trump wasn't inviting Jeffrey Epstein to Mar-a-Lago is because he was a pedophile. And now Donald Trump is saying something different today. He's saying the reason why he didn't talk to Epstein had nothing to do with the sexual improprieties, or as I should say, child rape. It was because Epstein was allegedly poaching staff from him. Again, he keeps throwing his MAGA supporters under the bus without even realizing it, or maybe he does. I don't know. It's unbelievable. Number to call, by the way, is 702-221-7283. Again, 702-221-SAVE if you want to be a part of the program. All right, let's go to line 4, which is David, I believe. Hey, David, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind today?
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Brian.
Sure.
Here it is. Why people out there? Why are you voting for these nasty Republicans, filthy pigs? Or remember, what about Larry Craig? Remember that he put his hand under an airport by putting his under a bathroom stall? Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
He put it was during an undercover police investigation into sexual activity for him to, join another involving a foot tapping, passing his hand underneath the stall divider, Larry Craig.
So I remember that Larry Craig story. I remember when he said, I just have a wide stance.
Yeah, he had a wide stance. That was an excuse that he made. Or what about Tim Haggard? What about Tim Haggard from the church, or where they're basically, professing against gay people, but yet he actually basically slept with he basically slept with or having fondant with another gay person and all this other stuff.
Can I be honest with you? Can I ask you something?
What about Mark Foley?
There's another one.
Remember Mark Foley?
Of course I do.
Mark Foley from Florida. Remember him?
I do.
He's the one that passed the child pornography, and then he got caught doing it himself as a hypocrite.
Yep. Remember Mike?
These Republicans are filthy.
They are. Mike Johnson is a guy. He has this app. Have you heard of this? He has this app that monitors his son's porn that he watches, and then his son watches the same, or I guess has the same app to monitor his father's porn. I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you this right now, without getting too dirty. Okay. I believe Mike Johnson watches more porn than anybody. I really do. I think he's that kind of guy. These people are such hypocrites.
They're hypocrites.
Anti-gay, they're gay. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with being gay. Anti-porn, they want to get rid of porn. They watch more porn than anybody else. They call themselves good, wholesome Christians, and they laugh and they get gleeful when human beings are treated like garbage. They're the biggest hypocrites in the world.
You know the old saying goes? That somebody told me? Remember this? There are more hypocrites in the church than the people outside of the church.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go, people.
You're right.
And like I'm saying, and the problem is what I got is that, what I have a problem is that when Abby Phillips, actually exposed those kids and holding these people that are basically not hungry, that are basically hungry and they're so skinny and they look so innocent. If you see the second the episode on Thursday about, she talks about the kids that are not being fed. After I saw that, I cried. I mean, are we that sadistic that we are cruel as a country that we can't help these other?
I'll give you another one.
In starvation.
I'm going to give you.
So sick,
David. I'm going to give you another one here. Okay, you hear these MAGA idiots out there that attack drag queens, drag queen reading, and transgenders. You never hear any of these. Now, I haven't heard of any child that was molested at a drag queen reading. I don't know if you have. I've been to those, by the way, and they were very nice and pleasant. Do you ever hear them say, don't go to church for the thousands of children that were molested by the clergy? Do you ever hear them say, stay away from those priests? By the way, the overwhelming majority of priests are good people. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah. But what I am saying is a lot of children have been molested at churches. But God forbid if a drag queen says, be happy for who you are, treat everybody with respect and dignity, because they're wearing makeup, they get angry at them, but they'll never say, don't go to church because those clergy are molesting children. You notice that?
Well, and have you noticed that they're always settling out? They're always settling out. They're always buying themselves out of a lawsuit, like they did over here in Oakland, where these two kids over here, sued them for $6 million. But they basically decided they didn't want to admit it, so they settled out before they went to court. They always settle out with the money. No wonder the church is all screwed up with these people that they're giving other churches a bad name. No wonder they're screwed up. And it's just disgusting. I'm just so fed up. I just get so cringe inside that, and I tell myself, why in the hell are we keep voting these hypocrite Republicans? And when they are the worst,
I'll tell you why.
Hypocrites
I'll tell you why.
The whole nation.
I'll tell you why. There's a couple different reasons for that. Number one, there's a lot of people that live in this country that want to make your lives more miserable, and they only see life through their own lens and not others. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, stupidity. There's a lot of people that are very ill-informed. They're bigoted in nature. They don't like you because of their skin color. They don't like you because of your sexuality. They don't like you because you might be a little bit different than them. They also don't have empathy for people. And there's a lot of people that vote against their own interests. But really what it comes down to is stupidity. And I try to make it as simple as possible. Chances are, if you're a bigot, if you're a racist, you're ignorant, because that's really what this is. If you attack someone because of their color of their skin or their sexuality, you're an extremely ignorant and hateful person. Sadly, I love the United States of America. I hate where this country has been headed. I don't recognize it anymore, but sadly, my friend, and I appreciate the call, by the way, great phone call. Thank you.
Thanks.
There's a lot of people in this country that are just very hateful people. Thank you for the call, my friend. 702-221-7283. Let's now go to line 5. I believe it's Frank on line 5. Hey, Frank, what's going on?
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Good.
Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Did you hear, I think you have, but I'm not sure, a MAGA supporter told somebody on the blog that they were against immigration, that they should put military 24/7 down at the border, and if immigrants come across the border, they should shoot them. And the same person said if people hire them in the United States, that the people that hire them should go to jail.
Listen. And by the way, Frank, I'm glad you brought that up, and I appreciate the phone call. So, Frank, let's be very clear here. There are a percentage of Donald Trump supporters in this country that actually do believe that if they find, it doesn't matter whether they're children, families, people seeking asylum, they believe in their heart, their dark heart, that those people should be shot. Now, I can't have a conversation with somebody like that.
No.
But yes, there are people in this country that believe that if you're undocumented, no problem, send them to an El Salvador prison. Nonviolent criminals, send them to Alligator Alcatraz. You know who I think should be at Alligator Alcatraz? Anybody that's in the Epstein files. You know who I think should be at Alligator Alcatraz? Violent criminals, rapists, child abusers, murderers. Not nonviolent criminals who are in this country undocumented that want a better life for themselves and their families.
You're right.
But you see, they would rather support a guy like Donald Trump, who clearly is an adjudicated rapist, who clearly, in my personal opinion, did some horrible things to children on Epstein Island. I believe that. He's in the Epstein files. We know that. How do you have a good faith conversation with a MAGA supporter in general, but particularly a MAGA supporter who continues to defend the indefensible.
You're right.
And as
Did you hear about?
Frank just eloquently pointed out, there are some that believe if people are trying to cross the border illegally that they deserve to be shot.
Killed. Did you hear
It's
about
despicable.
the senator
It's disgusting.
in Texas?
It breaks my heart. This is not what America should be.
Nope.
And I am
Right,
very
right.
scared and I am very worried at where this country is headed.
It's going. Did you hear about
702-221-7283, the number to call. I believe we are going to go to line 6. Line 6 is Shelley waiting patiently on hold. Hey, Shelley, good to hear from you. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian, how are you today?
I'm doing okay. I'm hanging in there.
Yeah, we all are trying to.
Yep.
If you want to be gay, just come out, okay? We don't care. Us on this side or in the middle, we don't care.
Well, are you speaking to Lindsey Graham? Who are you speaking to? I'm just
Lindsey
kidding.
Graham.
I'm just kidding. Go
I
ahead.
swear.
Tim Scott. Did I say that out loud? Tim Scott. Go right ahead.
You
I'm sorry.
did. You did.
I did.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing. And another thing, I was at TJ Maxx today and saw 3 ladies in a headscarf. And I was talking to them, and they were very nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, please, honey, you girls be careful, please. And I didn't mention any names, and they just looked at me and shook their head. But another thing, one more thing, and then I'll let you go.
Okay.
Did you hear, I heard this on the Midas Touch, I believe.
Yep.
That Trump administration had burned 1.5 million tons of food that would feed starving children.
Yeah,
Have you heard that?
So I heard that as well. I can't confirm that. I don't know if it's true, but here's what I will tell you. I am done defending.
It's despicable.
Listen, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to try to get Mehdi Hassan on this show. And I'm one of those people that admits when they're wrong. And sometimes I get things wrong. And I think I was wrong about Mehdi Hassan because I think he and I actually align when it comes to what's going on in Israel, what's going on in Gaza. And I believe I was wrong about Mehdi Hassan. I accused him of some things, and I think I was wrong. Because I see the way Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government have been handling things for months now. And I believe they're committing war crimes.
They are.
They have the right to defend themselves. Hamas is a terrorist organization. We have to start there. But there are thousands of people that are dying of starvation in Gaza. Now, even if those people, and by the way, some of those people are children, even if those people, even if they do not denounce Hamas, even if they do not believe Israel should exist. Now, I don't agree with that.
Don't they still deserve
They still don't deserve to starve to death.
No.
And Benjamin Netanyahu is lying. Okay, he's lying. He's lying to the world.
He's just like Trump. He's trying to stay out of prison.
Yeah.
Okay, honey. Bye.
I appreciate the phone call. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. 70. Listen, Mehdi Hassan was right, and I'm wrong. There were times a year ago, 8-9 months ago, where I was defending Benjamin Netanyahu. I was wrong. I changed my stance on some issues, and I take Mehdi Hassan's side on this now. I'm done with Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm done with the Israeli government. Do I support Israel? Yes. Just like I support any innocent Palestinian child that loses their life. It's just as bad as any Israeli. I want this war to end. But starving children in Gaza is not going to help, and it's not going to end terrorism in that area, period. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Listen, I call it as I see it. Sometimes I'm wrong. I defend Israel. I don't defend Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm not defending the Israeli government. I defend them. They have a right to defend themselves when it comes to Hamas, which is a terrorist organization. They don't have a right to starve people in Gaza. I've had it. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Line 1, let's go to Ramona. Ramona is next up on PTL. Hey, Ramona, what's going on?
Hi, Brian.
Hey.
How are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
Long-time watcher,
Thank you.
first-time caller.
Well, thank you, Ramona. What's on your mind today?
Oh. Well, I was calling because I wanted to let you know that both of my children are veterans. My daughter was in the Navy. My son was in the Army in the early 2000s. My son spent 2 tours of duty in Iraq. He's a disabled veteran. And he's on our side. And my daughter is on the other side. Now, my daughter is married to a Filipino, so she has 2, mixed race children, 2 daughters.
Yep.
Now, the oldest daughter is very feminine. Okay, the makeup and the fake eyelashes, the whole shebang, very pretty.
Yep.
And the younger one, Caitlin, she likes to be different.
Okay.
So she dresses more, her hair is cut short.
Right.
And she dresses more masculine.
Okay.
Well, she's been accused of being a transgender. And, she deals with it really well. And I got a chance to really talk to her yesterday because they came in town. They live in Tennessee.
Right.
And they came in town for my daughter's 30th high school graduation ceremony, and I got a chance to be alone with her, and we discussed the current issues and race issues and gender issues and all that stuff. And this is a 15-year-old girl,
right?
And she's more aware and more insightful than most adults are about being discriminated and bigotry and the hypocrisy of these people.
Right.
Because she said, I don't understand. She said, how we could be this far in 2000.
So what do you say?
2025.
So, I'm sorry, and this is your daughter?
And that's my granddaughter.
I apologize, your granddaughter. So what do you say to her? Because I would be like, unfortunately, there's a lot of bad people out there, and there's a lot of hateful people that judge people. We're not a family that does that. I mean, I would imagine you say something like that to her, right? Something along those lines? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I did explain that to her. I said, what, honey?
Good.
I said,
yeah,
just because she told me, she said, Grandma, I'm not gay. I said, you know what? Even if you were, it wouldn't matter to me. You be yourself, whatever makes you happy. And she said, I understand that. And she says, and I told her, whatever makes you happy, you live your life the way you want to live it. Don't worry about what other people think. And she agreed with me.
Right.
But her mom is a MAGA person, and
there you go.
We have very little to talk about. It's sad because her mom and I were very close when her mom was young, and now we don't have we don't have much to say to each other. And I told Caitlin, I said, don't tell your mother what we talked about, because I don't want to upset her, because she threatened to not talk to me. And she didn't talk to me because we got into an argument about Trump the first time he ran for office. And she didn't talk to me for like 5 months.
Well, you know what?
She said, don't call.
You know
she
what?
said, don't call me unless somebody dies. I don't want to talk to you.
Well, obviously she's a horrific person, but I'm glad you have a good relationship with your granddaughter. Please keep that up. I know you will. It's very, very important. You cannot reason with people like that. I'm sorry to say this, but she sounds like not a very good person. And,
she used to be.
Well, you know what?
That
might be very true. I know that there are people out there that have been brainwashed, my dear, and I appreciate the phone call. Thank you very much. I know that there are people out there that are brainwashed, but, we could all say that, well, that person used to be a good person, but certainly, and I know you're not using that as an excuse, but I would stop talking to that person. And if they ask why, if they try to contact you, say, I'm not interested in talking to you because of these reasons. Keep that relationship with your granddaughter. And I'm sorry they're having to go through this. I really, truly am. But it sounds like you have a very intelligent granddaughter. And it sounds to me like she's going to be okay because she has a wonderful grandmother like you. I really do appreciate your phone call. And she's very lucky to have a grandmother like you. And I'm very lucky to have listeners like you, particularly those like you that call into the show. And I appreciate you. Thank you so much. It gives me hope, ladies and gentlemen. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. We're going to go to line 2, and I believe that is Terry. Terry is on line 2. Hey, Terry, what's going on?
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. I'm here to serve up another dish of blatant hypocrisy.
Okay.
Representative Capriglione from, I think I'm pronouncing his name correct, from Texas, apparently had a 17-year affair with an exotic dancer, and she alleges that he gave her money for several abortions.
Oh.
And but also claims that he would never do that because he's against abortion.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he is going to resign. So I just thought I'd share that.
Well, you know what? I'll take it a step further. I can guarantee you Donald Trump has had women get abortions. I guarantee you. 100.
I would agree.
They have NDA disclosures. I guarantee you that Donald Trump has impregnated multiple women. He's had abortions. There's no question about that. That's the case with most of these disgusting, bad, powerful men with a lot of money, the Elon Musks of the world. But the weird thing about Elon Musk is, while he's a terrible father, he plants his seed, for lack of a better term, all over the country, and then has these women sign these non-disclosures and pays them off. But listen, there's a lot of good people in this country, okay? I sit here and I say to myself every day, Terry, I'm very fortunate because I've had a rough couple months for a lot of different reasons personally, and I've had a lot of good things in my life too, by the way. But I've had some tough things happen to me in my life the last couple months on a personal level, and I've been able to get through it, part of which is being able to do this show every day and speak to good people like you. Another big part of it, having great friends. I have wonderful friends that I'm very grateful for, that I talk to every day. I was having some issues yesterday, and I spoke with several people on the phone yesterday, helping me through and giving me advice when it came to some personal relationships and issues. It's very, very important. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because, yes, there are a lot of bad people out there. Yes, there are bad men and women out there. There are people that treat their children terrible. There are people that cheat on their wives and vice versa. And, you know, I have a personal relationship with somebody that I know who lost her husband recently. And after losing her husband, she got into another relationship very quickly. And that man took advantage of her without getting into too much detail. And you know, there are bad people out there in all shapes and sizes and all colors in the crayon box. But we also have to understand that there are a lot of good people out there. You know what I mean, Terry? There are a lot of...
You're absolutely right, Brian. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you and your show. I really do.
Well, Terry, that means a lot. And I know you're one of those good people, and I appreciate you. So I had first got to Vegas. Listen, I could share a lot of stories with you, but I think this is a story that I've never shared on the air. I was maybe like 25 years old. Wasn't making a lot of money in radio. I was really struggling, and I was renting a room in this home. And I gave them like 3 months rent in advance. And it turned out that the people that owned the home were taking money from people and, you know, renting it out to people, and they didn't even own the home, and then they fled and they took everything. I come home from work one day, and all my stuff is gone. All my electronics, all my clothes, they took everything from me and my money. And, you know, the cops came by, and there were a lot of victims. I wasn't the only one. So anyway, a local news station did a story about me, and I told them what I had to go through. And I said, man, you know, I need help with a place to live now. I didn't have much money, and, you know, I needed furniture. And all they did was they put out my email address. And I got like 40 emails from people, and I cried. And I cried because, you know, I met some of these people, and they gave me couches and furniture, and they helped me find a new place to live. And you know, these were not a bunch of people with a lot of money. I mean, maybe a few were well off, but a lot of people I met were, you know, modest, one-bedroom apartment people. Hey, I have a silverware set for you. And it made me realize in my heart that there's humanity out there. There's a lot of good people out there. I know that we don't have a lot of people in Washington, D.C. now that are good people, particularly those on the far right. But there are good people out there, man. There are people that care. Those are the people that we want in office, right, that we want representing us. But I think back to my mid-20s, and I think of all the people that helped me. I think of people like Don Lemon, who I've become close friends with, who's helped me in my career. I think of a local friend of mine, and I don't think he'd mind me saying this, JT the Brick. I'll get back to the calls in a minute, but I think this is important. So this was about 15 years ago. And I was struggling in radio. I wasn't happy with my job. I wasn't doing what I wanted to do, which was my own talk show, and I didn't know what to do. So I met this guy named JT the Brick. And if you don't know who JT the Brick is, he's a guy that was once on like hundreds of stations across the country, syndicated radio host. And I sent him an email. I said, JT, I just want your advice, man. He didn't know me from a hole in the wall. Not only did he invite me to meet him, but he invited me to meet him during his show. He said, sit in during my show, and during breaks, I'm going to give you advice and get a chance to get to know you. We've been good friends ever since. I have not forgotten that. He's one of my good friends. So I have people like that in my life. I have experiences like that in my life. I've got some bad experiences too, of course. We all do, right? And yes, I'm very disappointed, upset, angry at the direction of where this country is going and how certain people of different races and ethnicities are being treated. I'm very concerned, and I'm just as concerned as you are, and I'm angry, but I do try to remind myself, I try to, before I go to sleep every night, how grateful I am at my friends. You know, I have some wonderful friends, man. I wouldn't make it without them. I have some great friends. I have a great friend, Andrew, who gave me a ride to the radio station today because I have an oil leak in my car. As we speak right now, my car is being worked on because my friend gave me a ride, is picking me up, and the guy cooks me dinner anytime I want. So it's like, you know, I have friends like that I appreciate very much. And why am I telling you these stories? I'm telling you these stories because I know you feel what I feel. We all are human beings. We all are very upset. We all know what's going on in this administration right now, and we know all the people that are suffering. We know it's affecting a lot of good, hardworking people here, and we know there's a lot of stupid people in this country and a lot of hateful people in this country. Trust me, I know. I talk to some of them every day. I know. But we can't forget. And we can't forget because I remember, and it's hard for me to talk about this a little bit, but I remember the October 1 shooting. I was supposed to be at that shooting. I was supposed to be at that concert. Now, I'm not a Jason Aldean fan, and one of the main reasons why I didn't go is because I don't like country music. But a friend of mine invited me, and I couldn't go because I went to a hockey game. I might have gone just to hang out with her. And I'll always remember this. I left the hockey game and my phone starts blowing up, and I learn of this horrible shooting that took place where, at the time I didn't realize it, but over 60 people lost their lives, innocent people. The worst shooting in American history. And I tried calling my friend, and she didn't answer the phone. And I tried calling her over and over again that night, over and over again. I got maybe 2 hours of sleep. And then that morning, I get a call from her phone, and it's her mother. And I'm thinking the worst. I thought she was gone. Her mother said she was in surgery, and she made it because she's tough. But her life has never been the same. She was shot in the lower back. It could have been me, and I felt guilty. I should have been there with her. But I heard stories from her about how many good Samaritans helped her and saved her life after she was shot. Because the seconds and minutes after you're injured like that, it could mean life or death. And there were innocent people that were there that were helping the wounded, and it saved her life. And they used some sort of like tourniquet with shirts, and they brought her into a pickup truck, and they rushed her to the hospital, and she went into emergency surgery. She would not have made it if not for that good humanity and the humanitarians, those people that were there that day that saved her life. So I'm very grateful. And we still talk. We're still good friends. She moved to California to live with her mom. She's doing okay. She's doing better. And, you know, that's an emotional story for me. And I have plenty of stories like that, you know. I have plenty of stories like that live inside my head every day, and I try to think of them. And when we talk about Donald Trump every day, and when we talk about this horrible, horrible administration and some of these horrible people that are running the country, yes, I'm just as frustrated as you are. I'm just as angry as you are. I'm just as hurt as you are. Trust me, mentally, I struggle with this every single day. I complain to my friends every single day. Sometimes it affects my relationships with people. Sometimes I could be pretty angry when I have to watch Fox News and hear what they're talking about. I have to listen to conservative talk radio. I don't want to, but I do it because I need to be telling you people what they're saying. and how wrong they are. It's very mentally challenging for me every day. And just because I'm off on the weekends doesn't mean I'm not following the news, because I am. But I try to remind myself there's good people out there. And I speak to myself and I say, Brian, you're lucky. You got your parents here. Your parents are wonderful people. You got your beautiful niece here. You have wonderful friends here that got your back, man. I got a lot of acquaintances in my life, and I have a lot of people in my cell phone, but I can tell you I have about 10 people, which is probably a lot, but I have 10 people that I know got my back no matter what, that I can just call up on a dime and say, hey, man, I need to talk to you about this girl I'm dating. I need some advice. I do that a lot, by the way. I need to talk to you about, a work thing that I got going on, and should I do this? Should I not do this? Or just to talk to them and say, man, mentally, this is really struggling. I'm really struggling with this mentally. I'm struggling with having to cover this guy every day. I'm exhausted. My good friend Ryan Shedd, who's going to do the show this week, I want him on every week now. He's a really good friend of mine. He's a very popular left-leaning podcaster. Ryan's gone through what I'm going through, and he's going through what I'm going through, and we talk on the phone. We don't talk about politics. We just talk about a lot of us are burnt out mentally, having to cover this every single day. It's not easy, but I do it. I do it because I think it's important. I do it because I enjoy it. Once I go on the radio, I enjoy doing this show. I enjoy sharing stories with you. I enjoy giving you my opinions, and I enjoy hearing from you, people all over the country and all over the world. I'm all over the place in Vegas, but, I was in Reno a few weeks ago to see a concert. I had about 7 or 8 people come up to me. Just people at a karaoke bar. I had people at a concert. They came up to me and said, hey, man, we love your show. We love what you do. And I'm getting more of that every day, and that means the world to me. And you guys are the reasons why I do this. It gives me the strength to be able to get up in the morning and do my job. And while it's difficult sometimes, mentally draining sometimes, and I'm not going to lie to you, sometimes it affects my relationships with people, I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing. And remember, to Terry and anybody else who just called in, there are a lot of good people out there with a heart. There are a lot of good people out there that care, that have a moral compass. Let's focus on them, and I think that's all we can do. And I want to get back to the phone call. Sorry, I went on a little bit of a story and a tangent there maybe, but, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I don't hide anything on this radio show. People say I hide my bald head. I really don't. I've been wearing hats since I was 20 years old. That's not why I wear hats. But anyway, all right, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to line 3. I believe we have Jack on the line. Hey, Jack, what's going on, man?
Hey, Brian, I just started seeing your show a couple of weeks ago, and it's my first time calling in, but I wanted to let you know you are doing patriotic work with everything you're doing.
Thank you.
And I am very sorry to hear about what happened to your friend during that shooting. I'm very happy she's all right. I'm actually a former firefighter and first responder myself, trying to get back into it, but I had a question. I listened to the Tim Millers. I listened to the Michael Cohen's, the Midas Touch, Pod Save America guys. And I just wanted to get your take. If I'm calling from a North Carolina phone, but I actually live in Rhode Island, and I'm just wondering if it's time for blue collar people like myself to challenge some of these legacy Democrats in the House. People like Magaziner here in Rhode Island. Is that not the strategy to go about at this point in time?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I can't emphasize that enough. The Chuck Schumers of the world need to go. And you know what? Listen, I respect Hakeem Jeffries. I think he's a good man. I know he's a good man.
I do too.
Very intelligent man. But he's not doing enough.
Yes, he is.
He's not doing enough. And I don't think a 7-hour filibuster, when you know this big, beautiful bill is going to pass, is going to help America. I just think there are better things that the Democrats should be doing. It's not that I don't like Hakeem Jeffries, and it's not like I think Chuck Schumer's this horrible human being. He's not. But I think it's time for new leadership. I think it's time for new leadership. So the answer is yes, Jack. It's yes.
So you think blue collar people with, I don't even know where to start, would be able to find financial backing to be able to do this?
Well, there are all different sorts of ways to be able to get financial backing. You got to get your name out there. You got to have your social medias going. You've got to build some sort of following. It's not going to happen overnight, Jack, but the answer is yes. And I really do appreciate your phone call, Jack. And you call back anytime if you want any more advice. But the answer is yes, my friend. I think you're on the right track. Shelly from the YouTube Super Chat says, we all have your back, man. We love you. You feel like family. Well, Shelly, I appreciate that, and I feel the same way about you PTL listeners. I think we're all a big family here. We're all in this together, man, and I got your back as well. Thank you all. Line 4, 702-221-7283. I believe we're going to go maybe to line 5. Let's go to Angela. Angela is on line 5. Hi, Angela.
Hi, Brian. Thank you for taking my phone call.
Sure.
I wanted to call and comment about Nancy Mace. I think the next time that she might get pulled over for a speeding ticket or a traffic violation of any sort, that we should send her to Alligator Alcatraz. Because coming over undocumented is exactly the same thing. It's a civil infraction.
Let me tell you something.
Unless you continue to come over.
Let me tell you something, okay? This is my dream, okay, my dear? This is my dream. Get Nancy Mace, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and any of these MAGA scumbags, and I want them all deported to Russia. And I want Vladimir Putin. I want Vladimir Putin to welcome them with open arms. They're never allowed back in this country unless they buy a $5 million gold card. That's what I think should happen here.
I think that's a brilliant idea.
Let them buy the gold card. And by the way, the gold card's only a month gold card. So if J.D. Vance and Donald Trump want to come back into the country, they got to spend $5 million a month to be here. That's my dream. They have 3 options. All right, hold on. I'm going to give them 3 options, okay? They can move to 3 different places. They could either be deported to Gaza, they could be deported to Russia, or Alligator Alcatraz. What do you think about that? Those are the 3 options.
Ooh, I like that. I like that.
That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. And then if they want to come back, you can buy a gold card, but it's $5 million a month. That's what we're doing.
Well, I think that we should up it and make it have to be a platinum card, and I think it should be 20 mil.
And we don't accept crypto, by the way. We don't accept Trump crypto.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's important. and you have to buy 100 Hillary Clinton posters. I would put that in there too. Yeah, you got to do something that'll really drive nuts. And you got to go to a prerequisite is to get your gold card. You have to go to at least 1 drag queen reading. Okay, you got to go to at least 1 a month. You got to go to 1 drag queen reading a month. That's what you have to do.
That's awesome. I love that idea.
Yeah, there you go. And maybe
can always dream, right?
go to a class and tell people it's okay to be transgender. Also, they'd have to do that as well. So you have to go to 1 drag queen reading a month. You have to speak in front of a class about how great it is to be transgender. Okay.
Yes.
You have to talk. You have to write a letter to the NRA saying that guns are dangerous. And you have to spend $5 million a month on a gold card. And you have 3 choices: Gaza, Russia, or Alligator Alcatraz. That's it. That's what we do with all these MAGA Republicans. And I'm standing by what I said, okay?
I agree.
All right.
100%.
Thank you for that call, my dear. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I want to go to line 4 now. I believe on line 4, we don't have somebody on line 4. Oh, that's too bad because I heard Herb was on line 4. And, I was ready to go to Herb's phone call in a heartbeat. Trust me on that. But instead, we're going to go to line 2. Herb, you're welcome to call back. By the way, Herb's one of those people that I think should be sent to Alligator Alcatraz. Let's go to Jimmy. Jimmy's next on line 2. Hey, Jimmy, what's going on? Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
What's going on, Brian? What's going on, brother?
Hey.
Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I tried calling several times. I'm in a bad area. I'm actually calling from El Salvador. I needed a break from Las Vegas.
Wow.
I needed a break, and you're welcome anytime. We need to link up when I get back. Anytime you're welcome here, dude. Get your passport ready.
All right.
All right. It's beautiful here, and I'm gonna one up you. All those people that you mentioned that you want deported in certain locations, why don't we send these people to CCOT? You know how much of a good dollar value, you know how much good of economy would that be for El Salvador and the United States? You know, that back and forth, it's going to be amazing, dude. But I didn't really call for that. I'm calling for what you had said earlier, my guy, and I appreciate you. I see that you're going through this every day. I feel the same thing. You know, I told you, I'm a retired medic in the Army, dude. Mm-hmm. And it hurts me to feel that we're possibly, my heart, dude, seriously, I think we're seeing America burn right now, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And it breaks my heart hearing this, or seeing this, experiencing this. 20 years in the Army, bro. I'm able to travel and do what I need to do and how I see fit. And I'm seeing this.
And I see somebody like you, and I hear your passion, and thank you for serving and as a medic. And I see somebody like you who, risked everything because you love this country. And in return, if you don't mind me asking you, Jimmy, what is your nationality? What is your race, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm in El Salvador.
You're from El Salvador. How do you feel? How do you feel to know that there are immigrants, whether they're documented or not, in the United States of America, because they might have tattoos on them and they've never been convicted of a violent crime, to be sent to one of the highest maximum security prisons in El Salvador, where many of these people, we're learning, have been beaten, starved, and tortured? As someone who is from El Salvador,
it's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's insane because honestly, some people are complaining the same thing here. And I want to touch another topic. And if you look at Trump and his policies, that man is not original. If you notice, every little thing is copied off of some other country.
Well, there's nothing about him.
A lot of these things that he's doing right now is basically kind of the same thing what El Salvador is doing. Just, no, you go in, bye-bye, nothing.
Listen, it's dictatorship. No. It's dictatorship, and it's an oligarchy. And you look at everything that is on Donald Trump is fake. His 4 hair transplants, his 8 layers of orange makeup, the girdle that he puts on every day.
Hold on, time out. And just a few minutes ago, they just announced that Qatari airplane is going to cost the American taxpayer $1 billion. This just came out. $1 billion.
Well, that's a minimum. Well, that's a minimum. And I never thought he was going to fly in that plane as president. I think he'll fly in it when he leaves the presidency. But just to be able to go through that plane and to make sure there's nothing nefarious on that plane, it cost the taxpayers so much money. It's insanity.
Yeah, so there's no money. There's no money for child trafficking or trafficking people. Wasn't there a program that was recently defunded about trafficking? About protecting, people who've been humanly trafficked.
And keep in mind, because this is also very important to note, all of these MAGA Republicans have been talking about child trafficking, which is fine. I'm just as against it as they are, but they've been claiming that it's the lefties. But they've been claiming that it's the lefties and the Democrats, but yet Donald Trump and his administration and Blanche are, as we speak, trying to make a deal with Maxwell, all because they want her to protect Donald Trump. They are going to be protecting, and they are protecting, one of the biggest child sex traffickers in the history of the world, all because Donald Trump doesn't want you and I to see the actual truth, which is he is in the Epstein files, and he is somebody, in my personal opinion, that was not only had the privilege of being on Epstein Island, as he would say, but I believe Donald Trump actually had relations with young children. I absolutely believe that.
I'm afraid of something, too, touching on that. I'm so afraid of something right now. And this is something I'm posting on Facebook behind any MAGA people saying, I love America, but I'm noticing a lot of fake profiles, and I report these fake profiles. And then you see a lot of returns from Facebook that they've been taken down.
Well, you know what? I have a lot of those myself. I have people
I put behind those, and hey, take it for who you want. Dear MAGA, this message is to MAGA. If this woman gets pardoned, this country's going to burn, dude.
I don't think she's going to get pardoned, but I do think they might commute her sentence, and she's going to get something. Jimmy, listen, I want you to take care of yourself, okay? You sound like
you too, dude.
Okay, take care.
I feel you from over here, brother.
I feel the same way about you, Jimmy. You're a good man, and stay safe out there in El Salvador. We love you. And we want people like you in this country.
It's actually safe. I haven't seen any drugs out here. I haven't seen any bombs out here. I haven't seen anything
like you in this
here.
country. Most of these people in PTL Nation want people like you in this country. But chances are, if you're a bigot and a racist, you probably still support Donald Trump. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. We're hitting a lot of topics today. Again, that number is 702-221-SAVE. I believe line 3, if I'm not mistaken. Line 3, we have Shay. Shay is calling from line 3. Hey, Shay, what's going on, man?
What's going on? I got to say, what's your take on this New York race, the mayoral race with Mudami and with these establishment corporate Democrats? Do you believe the way it's going right now, do you think Hakeem Jeffries is fighting for his speakership? if the Democrats win.
Yeah, I do believe in a sense that he is. As far as this New York race, obviously the man that's been getting a lot of attention from the right is the man that they call a racist. He's anti-Semitic. He's this, he's that. I got to tell you something. I'm not always going to agree with every candidate, but I don't think this guy is anti-Semitic. If you're preaching death to Israel, then of course that means he's never made any incendiary statements like that. Ilhan Omar, yes, I believe she's anti-Semitic. Rashida Tlaib, yes, I think she's anti-Semitic. But, those are a few that I could name. But, there's a reason why I said it, because they've made anti-Semitic comments. But
what's the likelihood you think in which I think Jeffries need to be primary? You think he's scared of a primary challenge?
I think he probably is. I think most politicians are afraid of that. But listen, I'll say it again. I don't think Hakeem Jeffries is a bad guy. I think he has the right intentions. I think he's a good, decent man, a very educated man. But I don't think he's
a weak. I think he's a weak leader. He's not fit.
Well, I agree. You can be a good person, but be a weak leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's a bad guy, but I agree with you. I don't think he's a good leader. I agree with you. We need a Michelle Obama type, and I know they're very rare. Somebody like a Barack Obama that maybe comes along once in a lifetime. We need somebody to rise up.
You know who I want? You know what I want to hear, Hakeem? I want them to do a Mitch McConnell moment.
Mm-hmm.
The moment Donald Trump got in, they said, "Look, we're going to do whatever we can do of blocking everything. We're heading for a government shutdown." With this spending bill that's coming up in September, They need to put their foot down. No Democrat should vote on anything. And I think sometimes the government shutdown is good, especially right now.
I'm with you, my friend. I'm with you. Really good questions that you asked. I do think Hakeem Jeffries, that is on his mind. But what should be on his mind is fighting more for the American people and fighting against this MAGA movement. But yes, I do agree with you, my friend, and I appreciate your call. Thank you. 702-221-7283. I believe line 4 we have Frankie. No, Frankie's not on line 4. Line 2 we have Paul. Paul is on line 2. Hey, Paul. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, Paul. Just a subject that keeps coming up time and time again. I listen to you. I listen to lots of the Midas types. I also listen to Parker and Dean. As you know, they only debate MAGAs. And when they ask MAGAs what they like about Donald Trump, the one answer they give 9 times out of 10 is immigration. The point I want to make about immigration is to clarify what Trump's immigration policy is about. It's about the rich people picking the pocket of the poor people, but giving them hate in exchange. Let them eat hate. It's nothing to do with they're stealing your jobs, they're eating your cats and dogs, they're raping this, that. It's nothing to do with it. It's about feeding the poor people hate in exchange for them not noticing that the rich people are picking their pockets. That's all it is. And it's been going on for thousands of years, that thing. It's just been going on for thousands of years. This is what the oligarchy does to the stupid masses. They say, that guy over there is stealing your cookie. Meanwhile, they've got a plate of cookies a mountain high themselves. That's what it's about. Yeah. It's nothing to do with the job. I heard Stephen Miller on a terrible diatribe, a Nazi diatribe, about if we didn't have illegal immigrants in the country, there'll be no queues at the doctors, there'll be no traffic jams, there'll be no fentanyl. He went on this terrible diatribe, hideous to listen to. And that's what it's about. It's let them eat hate.
Unfortunately, you said the word, right, Paul? The word hate. And
yes,
what drives me insane is that Donald Trump and so many in his MAGA movement are hateful people. They hate on people because of their sexuality. They hate on people because of the color of their skin. They hate on people because they're in poverty. Look at the way they're treating poor people in this country. They want to take over 15 million people off of Medicaid. Look at the billions and billions of dollars they want to take away from food stamps so that struggling families can put food on the table, while they're going to be giving the biggest tax breaks to the top 1% in the history of this country. It's sick.
It's completely. As an aside, I've mentioned this before. Those typical magaloons, those Trump supporters with their single teeth and their tattoos, do they think that Donald Trump would let them in Mar-a-Lago? Do they really think they're really in his crowd? I watched a clip, actually, which nobody very rarely seen, of Trump backstage before one of his stupid rallies. And there's some supporters in front of him. And he looks at his security and he does a waving movement, like get them out of my way. And that, to me, epitomizes what he really thinks of his supporters. Nothing but the deepest contempt.
If you go to these rallies, if you have been to any of these rallies, and sadly I went, and thanks to Ron Filipkowski, because he talked me into going to some of these Trump rallies, and I'm glad I did. I saw 99% white people, and many of these people just hate. You said the word hate in their heart. F Joe and the Ho. I saw those kinds of T-shirts. I saw Confederate flags. I got video of all this stuff, so nobody can say I'm making this up. I posted all these videos. I saw Confederate flags. I saw hate. I saw stupidity. I saw ignorance. I saw ill-informed people, and just people that just vote against their own interests, really. That's what's most mesmerizing to me. It's one thing if you have hate in your heart, and it's another thing if you're voting against somebody who's literally going to make your life more miserable. And that's exactly what Donald Trump is doing to most people in his base. Not everybody in his base is white people that are rich. There are a lot of people that voted for Donald Trump that are very poor and very ill-informed, who watch their Newsmax and OAN every day. And that's what's mesmerizing to me.
Yeah, I watched. I love Jordan Klepper. Don't get enough of him.
Yep.
But I saw him during COVID. He was wearing his mask. He was interviewing this elderly woman on the way to a Trump rally, and she was saying that she would walk 7 miles or 20 miles to a Trump rally. And he said, "Have you got a husband?" He goes. She said, "Oh, he's dead. He died from COVID after going to a Trump rally." And she didn't even see the irony in it.
Herman Cain is a guy who spoke against the vaccines.
Oh, yeah.
Herman Cain is a guy that at one time in his life, correct me if I'm wrong, had cancer. He shows up to one of Donald Trump's rallies. He gets COVID a few weeks later, and sadly, he passes away. I've interviewed Herman Cain before. Thought he was a nice guy. I thought he was misinformed, but I didn't think he was this horrible human being. But because of his support for Trump and because of his not protecting himself, which is very, very sad. He lost his life. Paul, it's always a great phone call when I hear from you from the UK, and I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much. Line 5, I believe, is Susan, who's been waiting patiently on hold. Hi, Susan. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hi, Brian. Hope you're doing good today. So I have a couple of things that I would like your audience not to lose thoughts on this. First of all, the sexual abuse didn't just happen on Epstein's island. He had a home in New York, and a home in Florida.
Absolutely.
And there's testimony from the girls that did testify that it did happen at those areas also. Second, Trump made that comment about, Epstein loves women just as much as he does, but he likes them younger. If Donald Trump was a good man, he would have turned Epstein in. He knew what he was doing, but he didn't do anything about it, did he?
No, he didn't. And it's, we're at a point now, let's just call it for what it is. The President of the United States is not only an adjudicated rapist, but was absolutely and is absolutely in the Epstein files. And I personally believe that he had relations with underage girls through Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. And that's why he's been acting so weird the last several weeks. That's why he doesn't want anybody talking about the Epstein list. It's why they're going to give a redacted version, not because they want to protect victims, but because they want to protect Donald Trump. Think about that for a moment. Pam Bondi and Blanche care more about protecting Donald Trump than the victims. Trust me on that one.
Exactly. One final thing that you just mentioned earlier, you were talking, lots of people keep saying that Democrats need to do more. What is it do you guys think that they could do more? They just won this vote to take a vote about releasing Epstein's files, but of course, Mike Johnson,
I'll tell you, next time you have a president that's, close to 80 years old, make sure that he steps down earlier than 3 months before an election. Make sure that everyone has the ability to vote on who they want to run for the presidency of the United States. Make sure you have a better message. Make sure that you're not so careful with your candidate. I don't blame Kamala Harris for any of that, by the way. I blame members of her staff. Don't be so careful. Be more aggressive. Stop being so nice. Start campaigning earlier. Kamala never had the opportunity to do that. Get people like, as I mentioned before, like the Chuck Schumers of the world and Nancy Pelosi's. Step aside. Thank you for your service. Step aside. We need younger people. We need stronger people. We need to give people bigger platforms, whether that that be an AOC, whether that be a Jasmine Crockett, whether that be an Eric Swalwell. These are the voices that we need to hear more of. Josh Shapiro, I know he's the governor. I know he's got a job right now. I'd like to see him at a higher power in office, if possible. These are the people that we need to hear more of, and that's the best answer I could give you, my dear, and I really do appreciate the phone call. It's a really good question that you ask, and I wish more Democrats would ask themselves that question. All right, let's close it out here at line 3. Let's go to Mark. Mark, what's going on, my man? Thanks for calling into PTL. What's on your mind?
Hi, Brian. 2 quick points. I know you're near the end of the show. One, I politely disagree that Hakeem Jeffries is a weak leader. He's a minority leader that's rallied all the Democratic votes against what the Republicans want to do. And as we know, rallying Democrats can be like herding cats.
Okay, can I ask you, can I interject for a moment? And by the way, to reiterate what I just said, I don't think Hakeem Jeffries is a bad guy. I think he's a very intelligent man, and I think he's a good man. Weak leader, well, here's what I will say to that. What good is it to speak for 7 hours when you know that this big, beautiful bill is going to pass anyway? I feel like that's grandstanding. I don't like grandstanders. I didn't like that, Mark.
Okay, I can understand your point.
Yeah.
My point is simply that he's really good at rallying the votes, all the votes that he can get against the Republican agenda. And when it comes to the ignorance on the right and the rallies, all I would say is that the media is very complicit in allowing a certain view of Trump to be promulgated. They seem to miss out, unlike Midas Touch, on all the crazy crazy stuff that he says.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, listen, I think that we cannot, and you're right, Mark, and I appreciate your phone call. We cannot normalize Donald Trump's behavior. The things he says and the things he does on a regular basis. No, we cannot normalize it. So I understand what you're saying there, Mark. All I'm saying is we need some new leadership within the Democrat Party. And I'm not even a Democrat. I just want to make sure that no MAGA Republican ever gets back into the White House. We need more leadership. We need better leadership. We need younger leadership. Am I confident that Democrats are going to have a good showing in the midterms? Yes, I am. Am I confident that a J.D. Vance type will not win the White House in 2028? No, I'm not. Because you need to show me some candidates that are going to be running for president that are going to beat him. Now, I do believe that will most likely be Gavin Newsom. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If you ask me right now, and this could change. We've got a couple years, right? But I think it's going to be Gavin Newsom versus J.D. Vance. And I wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump ran as vice president. Maybe not. But that's what I think we could see here. So, listen, this show is ever growing, and I'm very humbled by all of you that listen to this show. And it's growing by the day. At the same time, it's an independently owned radio show. So we rely on good people like you to help support what we do so we can keep the lights on here. How do you do that? Well, besides being in the YouTube chat, and of course we appreciate all your donations that you've made, the best thing to do is to go to pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live. So if you go to pushingthelimits.live, you can make monthly donations, $5, $10, $20 a month, whatever you can afford, we appreciate. We also have merchandise on there, PTL gear, PTL hats, shirts, you name it, we sell it on there. So that's the best thing you can do to help support me, besides what so many of you already do, which is listen to the show and then spread the word to others, which means the world to me. And I've made some great friends from this show and just from everyday listeners, and I want you to know how much I appreciate all of you. But we're not stopping. I'm not stopping. I'm going to share you my personal stories. I've got nothing to hide. And I'm going to tell you that it's not easy doing this show every day. It's very mentally draining. It's not getting any easier, but I'm going to keep forging ahead and keep doing it because I think it's important. I still enjoy it. I wouldn't be showing up to work every day if I didn't enjoy doing what I do. And, a big reason for that is because of all of you out there that are listening. So tomorrow on the show, you've seen her on the cover of Vogue, Cosmopolitan, even Playboy. She's an international model, but more importantly, she is a former MAGA socialite. She was a huge MAGA supporter. She has completely flipped. She is anti-Donald Trump beyond you could even imagine. I went to some Kamala Harris rallies with her. She's agreed to co-host with me tomorrow. She's awesome. She's going to talk to us how she got out of the cult, and she's going to take phone calls. Her name is Ana Braga. She's an awesome person. On Wednesday, the lady who's running against Lauren Boebert in Colorado, Trisha Calvarese, will be joining us. So we've got some more special guests coming up the rest of the week. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thanks to Mark Hayes for doing a great job on the board. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great day, everybody.